The ideas that gave birth to our nation are the ideas that our nation is resistant to right now, and we should talk about that all the time.
In a world where narratives are shaped by corporations and gatekeepers, independent voices matter more than ever. Badlands Media brings together citizen journalists, researchers, and independent thinkers.
The truth is triggering.
Question the narrative. Explore the facts.
It's authenticity, courage, resilience.
Search for the truth others won't.
It's not about being first or being right.
The information war is changing.
It's about being authentic.
Embrace the friction.
Embrace the friction.
Shut the f*** up.
Authentically antagonizing. Join the movement.
I'm gonna say how I feel.
Follow Badlands Media.
This is about the future.
The Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, Russia, Russian, 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 the Russians. Russian.
Russia, Russia, Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this. The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again.
They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of special operations forces.
We will make America proud again.
And watch, please, those mail-in ballots.
We will make America safe again.
And in millions and millions of ballots. Their vote is under what they thought they needed.
They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you.
If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. As always, and unfortunately, I am joined by Burning Bright. Burning Bright, how are you doing, sir, on this day of signing the MOU day, the pre-agreement to the agreement?
Well, I'm doing better since you actually played the intro to the show. Didn't realize how important that actually was for the flow state.
Psyche? Yeah.
But definitely important. I also don't know why I'm getting a halo effect. Maybe my lights are brighter than usual. Oh, that's kind of cool, though.
I kind of hate it.
You hate it?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm ascending, John.
Well, we
I'm
both
reaching
know that's not true.
Or
We
dying.
both know that's not true. It's
Which
got to
you
be
might
something
like.
else. Something with your camera. Did you get an update on your computer, maybe?
I don't think so. It's probably just that they're bright. That's weird that it's...
You should just keep going back and forth the whole show until we give somebody a seizure.
Strange.
It is strange. But anyway, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to discuss and digest after today. Last show we had, we were on the verge of a peace deal. What are you doing?
I was just seeing if it was going to change, but it didn't.
We'll just sit here and wait. You figure it out. Keep doing things.
Okay. Well, do you want to see what I'm wearing for pajamas?
Kind of.
They're
What
Christmas
is
pajamas.
that?
Santa
Is it Christmas?
pajamas. Yeah.
Nice. Do you own any shirts that actually fit you?
No. Is that better? It still looks weird, but it's not as...
I don't know what
it's not
it
as
is.
bad as it was.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had a mini barrel in the background.
Yeah, it's a... I've never used it, shamefully, but it is a old-fashioned smoker.
Oh, heck yeah.
Make an old-fashioned, put one in there, and then smoke it in there.
Nice.
So, now it's just for the aesthetic, but I should use it.
Just for the aesthetic. Well, I gotta say, man, your background just looks impeccable right now. Anyway, to get to the real content, what everybody's here for. Last week we were discussing we were on the cusp of some sort of peace deal for about the 60th time. We were told we were almost there. Went back to bombing. Saturday's Power, kind of the same thing. Maybe it'll actually happen this time. Who knows? Then it came out that yes, they've agreed to the terms. I think that broke on Monday. And then we were told
it was Sunday.
Was it Sunday?
Sunday was when we had the reports that, of reports that the memorandum was agreed to, but that they were waiting for Iran to
that's right,
give them the green light on when they were going to announce it.
Because it was Trump's birthday.
Yes.
And
it was before the fights, which is that's how it's all very real, and definitely that there's no engineering going on here, because it was on Trump's birthday, and it was great pop of good news right before the big 250 celebration, which was fantastic, by the way, for any of you who watched. As an MMA fan, one of the things you always fear when you kind of bring people in, you're like, all right, hey, I'm going to watch this fight with you. You're the fight guy. Is that most of the time that happens, it ends up being a shit fight, or something. And I'm like, I promise it's not like this all the time. And Sunday night was like just about the best case scenario.
It was the first
American
time
won.
in history that every fight ended by knockout, I heard.
It was. There's a tiny asterisk on that, and that is that there were 7 fights on the card. A typical UFC event will be about 12 fights. So a card of that length has never done this. But yeah, you know, for a full card, if we want to stretch that definition, that was good. But the main event was just a fantastic back and forth fight. I was worried that it could be a first round knockout, which is still exciting, but it's just you don't get what you come for.
Yeah.
So the American winning, that was pretty surprising. And
his last fight too, I heard.
Gagey, I think he's playing coy here because there's a lot of ifs here, but if Conor McGregor somehow pulls off his comeback win next month,
he's gonna want to.
Those two have never fought each other, and they're from the same era. And you then have a mega fight, the likes of which Gagey would be a fool to turn down.
Sure.
A lot of money for that.
But anyway, we don't need to talk about the UFC fight. We've spent a lot of time on that. So stop. Nice
5
try.
hours.
Stop. Nice try. But we're moving on from that. We got the announcement of the peace deal Sunday. We were told they signed it digitally Monday. Then they announced that they were going to sign it for real on Friday. But instead, they signed it for real today. Right. And Trump is talking about some of the details. The details of the agreement came out, the MOU. And again, it's just a pre-agreement. It's like an agreement to like, we're going to pause things and do a few things until we can agree on the final agreement. And people are like losing their minds. It's hilarious to watch the fallout from this, especially some of Trump's rhetoric, which a lot of it is stuff that we said like, yeah, that makes sense. And we'll get into some of those details. Like, so we were talking about some of the details about a year ago. But anyway, it's going to be a fun night. We're also going to talk a little bit about the delayed election declassification. That was supposed to be this week, but because of all the DNI drama and the FISA drama and Trump's True Social post this morning and the cancellation so far, the postponement, I should say, of Jay Clayton's nomination hearings, we have delayed election declass till next week, but it is in conjunction with a big Trump rally on the 24th. So who knows? Maybe it's not delayed. It's just, I don't know what the better word for it is, but either way, it should be a fun show. Are you still tweaking?
Well, I just had the thought that I had wiped my display off earlier with water, which you're probably not supposed to do.
Probably not.
And maybe that has ruined everything. So if I just slide my thumb across it,
that'll fix it. Yeah, I see where the
logic is.
That does
seem a little better, right?
I don't know. Not really.
I think it works.
To be honest, I never noticed the halo in the first place. I just noticed when you put your head to one side and then the other, the lights like glow a little bit, but it's really not that distracting. The distracting part is you trying to deal with it.
Well, we are wired similarly, unfortunately. So it's like 2 cats.
Yeah.
Attempting to do a podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Yeah. So it should be a fun time. And then whatever the chat wants to do. Are we going to try that new thing this time? Should we try it? Like the halfway point where we let the audience dictate?
Oh yeah, we wanted to float the idea because we always do the rants, and we obviously appreciate when you guys shoot rants over. But we usually do a big discussion, and then at the end, it's like, all right, let's get out of here. We run through the rants. Not saying we can't keep doing that, and I know a lot of you guys just send stuff over just to support us. But if you have stuff that's like relevant to what you want us to talk about, and hopefully relevant to what we've already laid out at the intro of stuff we're going to get into, maybe send those over early within the first hour, and we can kind of experiment with that, like checking in on those rants at the halfway mark.
Yeah.
And incorporating you guys more into the discussion. It's tricky to do because we don't want to get super distracted, but I think if it's on topic of the stuff we're talking about tonight, it might be better than waiting until the end.
Yeah.
To bring that in.
I was thinking, typically we do a couple ads up front and then a couple in the middle. And I think when we do that ad break in the middle, that could be a good spot to like, let's check in on the rants. We'll go through them if there are any. No guarantees there. And then we'll do the second half of the show after that. So
yeah,
Why don't we do that? Let's get a quick word from a couple of our sponsors. And speaking of the 19th is supposed to be a big day. A lot of decodes for the 19th. It got rug pulled because Trump signed it today. But the real importance of the 19th, Friday, Juneteenth, is that is how long the promo code for soft disclosure is good through this Friday. So make sure you guys get yourself some soft disclosure, softdisclosure.com.
He changed his shirt 3 times before he left. Tried on a smile that didn't
Everybody saved.
Everybody.
Even me.
Especially you.
You mean I just have to use a promo code to get the discount?
Stevie truly is an idiot.
He had to earn it anyway. Come as you are. That's who we're waiting for. You don't need a different face walking through that door. Come as you are. You are not from the start. Soft disclosures for
Hi, fellas. What year is it?
soft disclosures for everybody.
Soft disclosure is for everybody. I had a rumble rant earlier today on my show. It was like after this signing of the MOU and how Trump's operating, we can change the date to Juneteenth, like JEW.
Ooh, I like it.
I'm loving it. I'm here for it.
I like it.
Yeah. The other promo real quick that I'm going to talk about, and I'll probably actually mention this one twice at the end again too, but we have our GART coming up next week. June 25th.
It's so crazy.
I know. Through the 28th. It's going to be awesome. I mean, Deadwood's my favorite place in the world. I've said that a million times and I stand by it. Most people who come to Deadwood would agree. But the content is going to be awesome. Going to be finalizing panels probably tonight after the show or tomorrow morning. But tomorrow afternoon, I think at 3 p.m. Eastern, we are doing our next and final, likely, exclusive ticket holder live stream. So you got to have a ticket to join that. Badlandsmedia.tv/events. Tickets, single day tickets are still available, as well as the virtual tickets. Those will be available throughout. So get those tickets. And also, if you haven't yet, you should join us for golf. If you haven't reached out to CanCon, you should have gotten an email about it. But if you haven't, let me know. Because the golf outing on Thursday is going to be fun. We're going to try to live stream it if we can get cell service and figure out the logistics of it. But that will also be for ticket holders. So,
yeah, and if there's somehow anybody who does either buy in-person or virtual tickets who does not join the Telegram group, that's a huge part of the GART experiences, or it's a great enhancement to them, especially for people who are looking for the logistics, because we're always running around like crazy. So you've got a few hundred other GART veterans in there to kind of help you out every step of the way if you're looking for what's going on.
Hell yeah. Okay, well, I think we should obviously start with the Iran situation, the memo of understanding. I could probably find the actual text of it. I had it pulled up in 4 different places earlier. Yeah, so this morning there was a leaked version, and at the beginning of my show, I read through the leaked version, and then by the end of my show, the real version was out, and so read through that. There was very minor differences, but some key differences, like 0.6 in the leaked version this morning was the $300 billion we're going to be providing is financing, and it never said who's going to be providing it. Trump, I think, later has kind of said that it's going to be the Middle Eastern countries that do it. The official, if you want to call it that, MOU doesn't say financing. It just says investment or something.
Right.
Pull this up.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and we can go through this line by line, I think, and I think we could have a decent discussion on that. We can get to some of the clips that are circulating from Trump today, because he gave a pretty banger press conference after the G7.
I will say, just off the jump, before we get into the details of the MOU and everything, it's worth not understating, if this holds, which there's been plenty of rug pulls, but let's say it holds for now, It's I think most of the Badlands audience and viewership has been on the same page largely and directionally with us that Donald Trump is a peacemaker and that however you think this stuff is going to happen, we're going to have a peace deal with Iran. And the reason I think it's notable to point that out just from the jump is to say that is that premise alone is entirely divorced from not only like a mainstream reading of everything that's been going on here, but I would say it can only be informed by an understanding that we are in a 5th gen war. Now, we all go back and forth, including in the audience, about how much of what we're seeing is real and how much of what we've been seeing over the last few months with Iran in particular is game theory, is psychological operations, who's the war really against, all that kind of stuff, right? But in terms of just the surface level, to me, you started the show by talking about, on June 14th, Trump comes out with this announcement. It's right before the 250 event. That alone, it takes two sides to make a peace deal, right? So as much as the media and never Trumpers and Zionists want to be cynical about Trump making an announcement like that and being like, oh, he's just using it to pump his bags and pump his ratings and get people to feel good. Well, if a few days later, it turns out that he was able to get it done and timed on his birthday and everything, the fact that he's able to have done that indicates that people like us and people that watch shows like this and that do, their own research on this stuff are just so far ahead of everyone who is reacting in real time to the news. That's before getting into the details of this, but just the fact that Trump and Iran have this deal in place is considered to be a shocking turn of events by 99% of human beings.
Yeah, and there's so many like interesting aspects to this because what you just said there, like it takes two to sign a peace deal. The funniest part about this is that there's only two as part of this peace deal. A lot of the framing around the entire conflict was that Israel is the reason we got into the war. Trump is controlled by Israel, and you're controlled by Israel. He went to war for Israel, all these things. And then this peace deal comes out, and the people that are very pro-Israel are freaking out because they're not part of it. It's between the United States and Iran. Israel didn't even know what was part of the 14-point plan until it got leaked today. And then they signed it today. They had no idea what was in there, and they were freaking out because of that. A lot of ghost analysis is pointing to like, yeah, this is exactly what we've been pointing to the entire time. What's this?
This is just one of many headlines that are already coming out. I saw this one in Newsweek. Can Israel survive? Right. So even the non-Israel media, if there is such a thing, is drawing that exact line that you're drawing. Right. Like even in the central narrative framing of this stuff, it is the implications of this on Israel are significant.
Yeah. And it's like, where do they go from here? Because as Ghost has been talking about, this has kind of been Trump's plan all along. Like Ghost has been keying in on Trump at some point. He's going to exit stage left, leave Israel to like their own doing. And like, okay, guys, we have peace here. They agreed to peace. They agreed to all these things. There's no reason to continue fighting them. And yet they want to keep fighting. They want to keep pushing. They want to keep going. Maybe they're skeptical for good reason. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens after this, because if Trump can get Iran to agree to a peace deal and Israel breaks it or does anything, we now have the perfect opportunity to walk away, hands clean, never have to worry about it again. We have given them $244 billion since 1936. They have so much money that is funneled back in to lobby our politicians that we know of. To lobby our politicians. They have paid off influencers in the United States to push pro-Israeli propaganda. That stuff's got to stop. And I think the best way to get that to stop is for us to like, hey guys, we have an agreement here with Iran. Israel does not want to do it. They're left to their own devices. We're walking away. Let's cut all that shit off. Never again. And I'm perfectly okay. That's my entire, at the beginning of this is like, I don't want to be involved in this. I don't want to be involved in the foreign war. I want to deal with our own problems here domestically. Trump had his reasoning, whatever it is, to get involved over there. Okay, fine. And now we have the justification to never have to deal with it again. If it goes down that way, which I'm expecting it kind of will.
Early on in our analysis of this, like during the initial chaos of all the announcements, what's real, what's not, and all that. Remember on the Wednesday shows in particular, we kept surfacing Scott Bessent's comments, who I think they put in a closet, which is not meant to be a gay reference, even though it could be. I think they put him in a bit of a closet in the last month or two because, you know, we were joking on the show that Bessent was the guy who would come out and just kind of say what was going on at every point in the process. At the very beginning of all of this, in March, he said, sometimes you need to escalate to de-escalate. And, you know, he's the finance guy. So obviously we have all our theories of what's really going on from a financial transition perspective and everything that Bessent and his agenda. But we thought it was notable that he was using that framing with Iran. And to your point about, like, you know, if we were evaluating everything or taking everything at face value, that it is real, these events are real as reported to us, then I would have had much more of a problem or anxiety at the beginning of this of like, hey, I don't want foreign involvement in war. I don't want U.S. involvement in foreign wars. I do not want to get back into a Middle Eastern quagmire and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, and you said the same thing. We knew that Trump probably wasn't doing that. And I think Bessent's framing at the beginning was apt. And I also think it's worth addressing. There's a comment here. I think it's worth addressing from Yafuni Kanizi. The Ayatollahs and mooks still in charge, at least the ones still alive in Iran, will go back on the deal at the first opportunity their past actions show. So before, again, we get into the details, you just mentioned the Israel side of the equation, right? That is representative of the anti-Iran side of the equation in the normie hive mind. And if we accept that commenter's framing at face value that, hey, I think if the Iranian regime as constructed is what we've been told it is, they're just going to go right back on this deal and betray Trump. Not unreasonable to think that based on, you know, the framing we've been given about Iran. But you want to jump back in the chat and answer this? If you're wrong, if they don't go back on that deal, just like the Taliban didn't go back on the deal, just like Jolani and the Syrians didn't go back on the deal, and just like all these different parties, just like the Venezuelans have not gone back on the deal, what does that mean then? What does it mean if the Iranian regime that everybody thought we couldn't make a deal with, what you're talking about, what if Israel reneges, right? Which the spotlight is on them. Trump exits stage left, as you said, with ghost commentary. Think about it from the other side of the equation. What if Iran doesn't restart their bullshit? Are people going to start reevaluating? We know the answer is no. But in a hopeful world, you would think that people in the MAGA base might start reevaluating and going, if Israel is going back on Trump's deal, but the Iranians are not, what does that say about what we've been told in the region all this time? And I think there's many such cases.
Yeah. And we shouldn't give a platform to comments in the chat that aren't in the form of a rant like that. Because that was gay.
Well, I wanted to say it anyway, so.
Well,
free people.
Whatever. He's being a loser. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war are signing this MOU to declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and undertake from now on not to initiate any war or any military operation against each other and to refrain from the threat or use of force against each other, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon, which is interesting because that's where Israel is also primarily fighting. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and other provisions of this paragraph. The mention of Lebanon twice is a direct shot at Israel, who continues to want to fight and push in Lebanon.
It's a response, too. Over the last week, there were a bunch of headlines supposedly out of the Iranian regime saying the number one condition was for Trump to reign in Israel. So, yeah, that's and, you know, people weren't shocked to see that out of the Iranian side of the equation, right? But they are shocked to see it reflected in the American side of the equation here.
Yeah, well, I mean, Trump has been kind of saying that, though, this entire time. Like, every time there's been a little conflict or dust up there, Trump is like, okay, guys, stop. Like, guys, stop. We need to stop the fighting here. So it's not a surprise. And has Iran the entire time has been like, any agreement, and yeah, I guess take it with a grain of salt, but what we've been told by the mainstream media is that anything from Iran would come with the ceasing of fighting in Lebanon. Like that, we knew
totally.
that was coming.
I more mean it's one thing for Trump. Trump's played both sides of the Zionist angle for a long time, as we've talked about. And that's one thing for him to kind of go back and forth in the media, talk about reining Israel in while also constantly referencing them as our greatest ally. You know, he's had fun with that.
Yeah.
But I think the reason we're seeing a shift in panicked rhetoric, not just out of Israel, but out of the media that represents them, is that Trump has this down in a written agreement that that is being codified. That's a much different thing than him speaking off the cuff at a press conference.
Yeah. Number 2, and I thought this one was really interesting. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. One of the things we've keyed in on over the years is just the radiating sovereignty type messaging. Like that is what Trump is doing. So I think talk of that here is interesting, but also this has to do with not only regime change, like we're not going to regime change them, but what about our elections? How many stories have we had that Iran has tried to interfere in our elections? We've had pretty much every single intelligence community assessment since 2016 has mentioned Iran interfering in our elections. And in 2024, they hacked our emails. They leaked that J.D. Vance dossier. So this is something that Trump is almost, whether or not those actually happened in the past, who knows? It could be fake news. The intelligence community puts forth more bullshit than anybody. So their assessments, you can't put too much weight on it. But Trump is taking away that narrative weapon at the very least. Because I wouldn't be surprised if any future agreement with Russia and the Ukraine war also does the same thing there, like no more interfering in each other's internal affairs. Both those things, Russia and Iran, are the two primary ones mentioned all the time in terms of interfering in our elections. Those are going to be off the table.
Well,
and I think that's notable.
Totally. It's totally notable. And I think it's also notable what you said about, the intelligence community, because one of my longtime theories that I've used more about, I've written more about Russia, but on the shows going back a few years, we've talked about it in the context of Iran, is that the intelligence community that is actually the ones that have been warring against the Trump administration. We've talked about this a lot the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that is the deep state. That's what a lot of your series is about. Like that is who the devolution operation was necessary to shield against or to combat, right? So when they use Iranian and Russian interference, it's not just a lie, in my opinion. It's a sort of narrative shielding that has a secondary aim, which is also to foment the exact sort of strife between the nations that they want in the first place, right? So it's, hey, we didn't do it, the intelligence community didn't do it, Iran or Russia did, and then obviously it has a second order effect of stoking tensions between the US, Iran, and Russia. And for a long time, I've said my analysis never ends with reverse indicators, but it usually starts there. If the intelligence community that we know as the deep state has been attempting to frame Iran and Russia as our adversaries this entire time, and now China in recent years, it might be worth trying to untangle that thread or inverting it.
Totally agree. Next up, number 3, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran commit to negotiating and achieving the final deal in maximum 60 days, extendable with mutual consent. I was on my show earlier. I don't know if this is too soon, but like, since this is just the pre-agreement, not the final, can we call the final agreement like the final solution? Are we allowed to do that, or is it too soon?
Maybe. The final solution.
Probably
this
not.
Is only maybe for the Iran situation, but there's probably other fake wars on the horizon that we'll still need to navigate. We might want to save that one.
Yeah, like what are you talking about?
I feel like they've teased it so much that if we don't get through this without a Cuban Missile Crisis rerun that brings World War III with Russia back onto the table, that is when we use the final solution rhetoric, I think.
Yeah. That was more so a Jew joke, a poor Jew joke, the final solution. You didn't catch that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that was just me being a little anti-Semitic.
I'm just not anti-Semitic like you are, so.
Yeah, you're just racist. I'm sorry. I'm a little of both, so I can't help myself. Immediately upon the signing of this MOU, the United States of America will begin the removal of its naval blockade and any disturbances or impediments against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and will fully end the naval blockade. My glasses here. Within 30 days. During this period, the traffic of vessels will be in proportion to the numbers of pre-war traffic being restored by the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran within 30 days after the final deal. It's a lot of like moving timelines too. Within 30 days of this, we're going to get this going. But then within 30 days of the final deal, then we're going to get our troops out of there. But whatever. The strait is going to be reopened, even though Trump said just like a week ago, yeah, we've been sneaking ships out this entire time. Has it been open the entire time? One could make that argument. I think you've made that argument a few times. So anyway, now it's in writing.
That is one that I think we're going to be able to prove or disprove, or directionally. CanCon's been talking about this. I don't know if he's been talking about it on daily, but certainly in our private chats. You know, he's been saying, hey, I think we're going to have gas prices at whatever level, super low level in July. I don't know what the timeline is, but I had said last week on the show that one of the indicators that we have not been in a real blockade situation, or at least certainly not the one that the global media has been saying that we are in, is that gas prices, oil prices should have been about $200 a barrel when they've been hovering around $80 a barrel. That doesn't make any sense. So what they're now doing, what the media is now doing, which I was writing about the last couple days, is pivoting and saying, okay, you know, they do the moving the goalpost thing where they're like, Trump's not going to get a deal done. Obviously now that's being dashed. So they move on, they retreat to the next narrative bunker. The next narrative bunker is the damage to American energy markets is already done because there's going to be this lagging effect. And that renormalization is going to take, I've seen 3 months, I've seen 6 months in terms of getting back down to the energy prices that Trump had before this stuff started back in February. That's their premise. That is predicated on everything being as we've been told it has been in the Strait of Hormuz. When that proves to be bullshit, which it sounds like it already is, because I was even reading Zero Hedge today and oilprice.com, and they're all kind of surprised at how fast gas prices are already coming down. What does that suggest? It suggests that maybe the blockade wasn't the blockade. That is not to say that I don't think there's been any actual energy disruption, because I think there has been. And Trump actually, in one of his comments, was talking about he was trying to compel the tankers to go through. So I'm not sitting here saying everything has been moving through the Strait of Hormuz as it was back in February, because think of it, all these individual pilots and shipping companies, they've been watching the same news that we've been watching. So I think it's been incumbent on each and every captain and each and every shipping company to decide whether or not they're going to take the risk of going through the strait as all this has been going on, which I think is why Trump has been talking about the psychological importance of stopping the blockade, while he's been doubling down on the actual importance not being very important.
Yeah, I think the lowest it was prior to the war, I want to say it was like 290. I think that's the lowest it was in January. But I've been tracking the gas prices now on my show for, I want to say like 3 weeks, maybe a month. And it hasn't been like coming down fast at all. It's just been a slow and steady 2-cent drop like every day for a month. It's a month ago, it was at $4.50, the average. Today it's at $4.02. And I kind of just expect this to keep going. A couple 2 cents every single day for a while, maybe a couple jumps. I know the crude oil barrel price has gone down dramatically. That has not been reflected in this price. And as always, the actual people who sell you your gas, they will be very quick to raise price on the, the scary news. It will take them a long time to lower the price, but it'll get there eventually. CanCon said $2.40 national average by July 4th. I think that's a little steep. I don't think we're going to get there, but
feels
we
a little
could
steep.
get
but if we did, it would
cool.
retroactively codify all this. And I think we talked about this the last few weeks on the show. Trump has actually, this isn't just like prognosticating. Trump has said that he thinks it's unfortunate that our energy markets are based on futures markets. Yeah. So I do think there's been a lot of second order exposures of this whole Iranian knot, but one of them has been how rigged our markets are against Americans themselves, because as you said, bad news is priced in immediately. Good news is doubted until they're done taking their profits off the bad news.
Yep. It's a little ridiculous, but whatever. I just need to do one thing quick here, and then I will continue reading. Okay, there we go. Upon the signing of this memorandum of understanding, the Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, and considering the need for removing the technical and military obstacles and demining by the Islamic Republic of Iran, will be instated within 30 days. The Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman to define the future administration and maritime services in the Strait of Hormuz, in discussion with other Persian Gulf littoral states, in line with the applicable international law and sovereign rights of coastal states of the Strait of Hormuz. So not only are they going to unblock the Hormuz, they're going to allow a whole bunch of shipping and passage of commercial vessels to go through. So that could have a really good effect on the economy, obviously, within the next 60 days, but especially long term. I mean, can you imagine how things are going to look after the 60-day agreement is actually signed? Now, this one is the one that a lot of people are keen in on, especially the Trump detractors who are doing everything they can to dunk on Trump in this moment. The United States of America undertakes with regional partners to develop a definitive, mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The mechanism for the implementation of this plan will be finalized as part of a final deal within 60 days. All required licenses, waivers, and permissions needed for the relevant financial transactions will be granted by the United States of America. And I want to show this. There's a couple clips. Oh, that's not long enough. I want to get a good long Trump, because he had a couple good comments on this today. But even before we do that, actually, while I'm looking for that, I want to show you guys this. This was from the leaked version of the agreement that came out this morning. And who knows? There's a lot of like little differences. The substance of most of these points were the exact same. But if you look at line number 6 here, it talks about the $300 billion, but it calls it financing of at least $300 billion. Financing, and if you go back to this, just the a mutually agreed plan with $300 billion for reconstruction. Those sound different. Like financing is a loan. Like I'd be totally cool if we give them a loan and they pay it back. I would not be cool if we give anything else in terms of financial money to Iran to deal with that situation over there. So there is a difference here. Either way, I'm sure Trump is not going to let us not get the better end of the deal on this.
Yeah, I have a different potential read on it too. I mean, I do agree that the wording there matters. The way I predict that this is going to go is I think Trump is talking about we are going to allow for American investment into the reconstruction of Iran, right? If pick your company, pick your giant, building contractor.
Yeah.
You're not going to be doing deals right now with the Iranian regime because you can't. It's not legal for you to be doing deals with the Iranian regime. So they were very clear that no money is going to come. J.D. Vance had said today, $0 are coming out of American citizens' pocketbooks, even in terms of a loan in that example that you talk about, John, because that is still technically taking risk on behalf of the American citizen. That would be, I think, a disaster in terms of PR. I wouldn't really care about it, but I mean, the media would have a field day with Trump giving them a loan even. I think he's saying he is going to release investment and just allow Americans to engage in a free market over in Iran.
We should listen to what he says here.
The MOU that's been reported includes.
Have I read it?
Well, it's been reported that it includes a $300 billion reconstruction fund funded by Gulf allies. That's false.
It's false. People, you can invest if you want. I mean, what am I going to do? Say nobody's ever allowed to invest? No, we're not investing. We're not putting up 10 cents. And people can decide to do that, but that's up to them. I mean, do you want me to say nobody's ever allowed to invest in a country? I'll say it with Egypt. Nobody's allowed to invest in Egypt. Am I supposed to say that?
I'm asking whether
we are not investing in it, and we do not have a fund.
Are you asking Gulf countries?
No, I'm not. I'm not. If they do it, fine. But I would say they won't be doing it for a while until they find out the behavior. It's a behavior thing. But we are not that's a false story that got picked up incorrectly from a statement that was pretty well made, I think. Maybe a little bit, could have been a little more accurate, frankly. But it's a story. We are not investing 10 cents. Don't forget, there's never been anybody that's been so tough on Iran. This should have been done by Clinton and Barack Hussein Obama. It should have been done by Biden. It should have.
Oh, he always refers to him as Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah.
I got one more clip from him. This is the other press conference after the G7 stuff, and this is pretty good too. I think he mentions the $300 billion in this one too.
You've been clear, President Trump, the United States is not going to directly pay Iran, but the U.S. is going to let the Iranians start making billions of dollars, selling oil, accessing this reconstruction fund.
Only if they're doing things right. Peter, only if we're not doing anything. We're not putting up money. Only if they're doing things right. If they're doing things right, if people want to invest, they can invest. But they had this $300 million fund. It's only $300 million fund. It's only if they're doing things right. Remember this also, when you talk about billions of dollars, they've had much more than $1 trillion worth of damage done. They got a long way. There'll be 15 to 20 years to rebuild what they have right now. So they have to behave themselves. If they're not behaving, they get hit again. You know, they'll be hit again because we can do it very easily. It's going to take a long way for them to build back their anti-aircraft stuff.
Can you explain, though, what the difference is between giving Iran U.S. dollars and unfreezing U.S. dollars for
the unfreezing is an easy one to answer. We have taken a lot of their money, and we have their money. We have taken their money. It's not our money. It's their money, and we froze it. At a certain point in time, I guess we're going to have to give it back. You know, if we didn't give it back, nobody would ever invest in the dollar again.
The freezing thing, I think, is interesting because of the Russian and Ukrainian war. When that went down and NATO's just like, yeah, we're going to take all this money that we had. It's Russia's money. It was frozen. We're just going to take it all. And everybody kind of like turned a blind eye to it. Russia was obviously pissed. And now Trump is like, yeah, that's their money. That's not our money. We're going to give it back to them. We're just going to unfreeze it. We're going to allow them to access it now. And that's the right thing to do. I don't know how anybody can like look at that and be like, well, that's a problem.
That's exactly it. I mean, there's so much in that clip that's great. First of all, for everybody that thinks like Peter Doocy is a secret white hat, you're retarded again, like with all these situations. In my opinion, what Doocy is doing there is marching in lockstep with the mainstream media narrative, which is to attempt to get Trump to admit to something that is not true, first of all. And then when that doesn't work, what he's trying to do is basically cajole Trump or ridicule him or pressure him into allowing the Iranian people to access their own money, which shows you whose side Fox News is on. And there's a really dark undercurrent to that, besides the deep state of it all. The really dark undercurrent to it that is unfortunately present in some people at Badlands, some people in the audience, a lot of Americans, is that they don't want Iran to come back to the table. They don't want the Iranian people to elevate. They post decodes and they post cute messages about wanting the Iranian people to be free. They definitely don't want the Iranian people to be prosperous. Well, if you want the Iranian people to be free, and if you want the Iranian people to be prosperous, maybe you should give them back their money that you stole from them, which is the common sense Trump is talking about. The Russia point you bring up is exactly how I was going to go with it. First of all, Trump, to my earlier framing, exactly says it is an allowance for an investment fund. They are allowing other countries and American businesses to do business in Iran, which they have so far not been allowed to do. They've been expressly forbidden from doing that during this conflict, obviously, but they've been forbidden from doing it going back to the Obama administration. You had a lot of sanctions and all that. But even if they haven't been forbidden from doing it, they have de facto not been willing to because of the instability and because of not knowing which U.S. president is going to sanction. Remember, as we've said a million times on this show for the past couple years with regards to Trump's trade war with Xi Jinping, You don't sanction other countries. You sanction your companies to punish other countries. That's how sanctions work. Or, to John's point and to Trump's point about assets, if you have another country's assets, you don't release them to that country. A lot of people don't understand how sanctions work. They think you can sanction China. You can't sanction China. You can sanction businesses that do business with China. So that is what I think this is all about. And to go to the Russia point, not only was it hypocritical of NATO to do that, something that Trump said was a bad idea and was a bad decision, but the sanctioning and the freezing of Russian assets is the domino that started the cascade that will bring down the central banking system and the global energy system, which we talked about way back in 2022, and I wrote about that in the Righteous Russia series. It said, they cannot put this genie back in the bottle. Global markets all heard that bell ring, that once Trump says it at the very end there, like, we have to give this back. Otherwise, what's he say? Nobody's going to do business with us, which is exactly what is happening with NATO and Europe. So Russia was the canary in the coal mine that proved this all out, and Trump is hinting at you that obviously we're going to give all that money back. And by the way, one more point on this would be you brought up Ukraine. I think that all the freaking out within MAGA of the Ukrainian Reconstruction Fund that Trump keeps triggering everybody about periodically is going to exactly mirror this. This is what it's going to be, and everyone's going to freak out and say that we're giving money to Ukraine again, which we are not.
That one is a little different, though, because when Trump teased that deal, we were going to invest our money, but in exchange, we were going to get mineral rights, which I'm a little more okay with. But that is distinctly different than this deal. But I'm curious to see what that one looks like, and I'm curious to see if that situation turns out very similar to this one in terms of, like, just like when Trump negotiated the original one, it was Trump negotiating with Russia. He left EU and NATO out of it. Is Trump going to sign the peace deal with Russia and leave Ukraine out of it and then just expect them to, like, all do the thing? I don't know. The talks of that one has been a little different, but I expect that situation to be resolved in pretty short order after this one fully is. But let's keep going. We have quite a bit to go through here. Number 7, the United States of America undertakes to terminate all types of sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran, including the United Nations Security Council resolutions, IAEA Board of Governors resolutions, all unilateral U.S. sanctions, primary and secondary in the agreed-upon schedule as part of the final deal. The Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America acknowledge the critical importance of the sanctions termination issue above mentioned and expressed their intentions to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them. The removal of sanctions is Trump welcoming them back into the world economy, which could be so good for Iran. And really, like, if you're looking at it logically, there's no reason for them not to continue on that path. The only thing that's going to get in the way of it, I believe, is going to end up being Israel, who's not going to want that.
There's on that note as well, and to the previous note, those last two items, I thought there was an interesting little section from a Zero Hedge article I was reading earlier that was just kind of analyzing all the different ways this could go. But they had a brief section, why Iran is attractive and why it's been untouchable. They say on paper, Iran is exactly the kind of market global capital would normally chase. It has one of the world's largest combined oil and gas resource bases, which we know, a population of more than 92 million, a relatively educated workforce, which many Americans do not know, a diversified industrial base in major needs in refining, petrochemicals, transport, aviation, steel, ports, power, and logistics. For 4 decades, Iran has been largely frozen out of global capital markets. U.S. sanctions, secondary sanctions risk, compliance uncertainty, and a fear of future penalties have kept most major Western banks and corporations away. So now that's,
are you bringing this up because Ash made her comment in the chat?
No, I already had that pulled up for the previous point. Ash was just saying you can do you can sanction other countries. My whole point there was to say if you've declared a trade war with China, sanctioning China is the declaration of a trade war against China. They can just say no. So it's kind of like I just meant it was redundant.
The whole reason that they created the BRICS was to de-dollarize essentially and sanction-proof their economies, which most of them have successfully done at this point. So
that point there that Zero Hedge is making about Iran, that was just to say that some of these nations have been engineered into the stasis, the economic stasis that they've been locked in for 40 years, right? It isn't like, oh, you know, there's just like, that's just what Iran is. There's no investment over there. It's like, no, the threat of sanctions and the threat of the U.S. military industrial complex has kept investment from going into Iran like it has with the rest of the New World Order that just bowed to the might of the West.
Yeah. Next one here, number 8, the Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran have agreed to resolve the disposition of stockpile enriched material pursuant to a mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the schedule mentioned in paragraph 7, with the minimum methodology to be down blended on site under the supervision of the IAEA. The two parties also agreed to discuss the issue of enrichment and other mutually agreed matters related to the Islamic Republic of Iran's nuclear needs, based on the satisfactory framework being agreed upon in the final deal. The final deal will confirm the provisions of this paragraph. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran acknowledge the critical importance of the nuclear issues above mentioned. They express their intention to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them. And I think this is interesting for so many reasons. One, it's like, this is an agreement that we're going to discuss all these things and come to agreement about them later, but we're not actually agreeing to any of that now. Trump today, and he was kind of getting, you know, a lot of the mainstream media was freaking out about, he's kind of softened his talk on the nuclear dust and whether or not we're even going to go get them. So he's kind of rug pulling that whole situation, which is also hilarious. And then number 3, I think that was 1, 2, 3. And you'll probably speak to this too. A lot of the rhetoric we've been talking about in the past about Iran and how like this talk about like they can't have nuclear, they can't enrich anything. That is like effectively leaving them out of the world economy, because everybody else in the world has the ability to use nuclear power, right? Like they can enrich uranium to use nuclear power. I know everybody's freaking out about them enriching it to the point of making nukes, which they've been working on for 50 years, we're told, and they're the worst at it because they've never been able to fully enrich it enough to have a nuke. But anyway, let me play a couple Trump clips and then I'll pass it off to you. Number 1, there's this, the rug pull on the nuclear dust.
So the Atomic Energy just reported that it was one of the most devastating bombings that they've ever seen. The whole mountain collapsed on top of it. And frankly, to go get it, we're going to go get it. But to go get it is a big deal, because they say only China and us have the equipment we can even get. The whole mountain is collapsed on top. We have cameras on it. You could make the case why you even bothering, because it's not really valuable. It's, you know, it's probably $500,000 worth. It's not very valuable stuff, but I think psychologically we want to get it. So
okay, there's
Atomic
that,
Energy,
and then there's this one. And this is on them enriching.
and it could have caused an international depression.
Maybe not. Iran's position has always been that their nuclear program was for civilian purposes. If they come back after the signing of this and say they want to continue to have a civilian nuclear program, is that acceptable to you?
Well, I've said to them always, I say, look, you have probably the 3rd largest oil reserves in the world. What the hell do you need nuclear for? You need nuclear for some electricity. So I've always felt that way. So we've been pretty tough in that. You know, it is a little hard though when you say that somebody wants it, other people have it, other adjoining states have it, and you're not letting them have it for purposes of electricity and things like that. It's always a little tough. You have to use a little common sense, please.
So there we go.
Yeah. So there's, man, I mean, the previous clip, he says it's not actually that important, right? The nuclear dust is not actually that valuable. Psychologically, however, it is. What was our rhetoric in June 2025? Me, you, Chris Paul in particular. We are watching a psychological operation to denuclearize Iran, not an actual operation. At least that was my theory. That was Chris's theory. We talked about that on the Power Hour quite a bit. And now Trump, who was saying, what was his quote that he kept saying in June and July 2025? No enrichment, no enrichment, no enrichment, no enrichment. And that
now
was retarded.
Like kind of enrichment.
Yeah.
Well, if they need to. Everybody else is doing it.
I think this is important in a few ways. Number one of the things that we talk about a lot on the Power Hour, both Power Hours, is questioning Donald Trump in real time, in present time, is not disobeying or interfering with Donald Trump. It is usually seeking to understand what he's actually doing. So for everybody who was blindly repeating that Donald Trump wanted no nuclear enrichment with Iran, while we were the only ones in the world saying that Donald Trump was going to allow them to enrich uranium, what does that mean now? Were we disobeying Trump in June of 2025, or do we know what was going to happen? And I happen to have a clip from June of 2025, and usually I don't have clips, but
just as long as you stop yelling at me, whatever you want to do.
Definitely gonna play. It's not you. I'm yelling with you. Whoops.
You're yelling at all of us.
Yeah, yelling at you. So this was June 2025. One of the
God,
really.
Hold on. You gotta stop wearing V-necks, bro. Can we talk about this real quick? When are you gonna? You need to go into your closet and throw out all the V-necks. I'm just saying it now. Promise me. I will buy you more shirts for Christmas or your birthday.
They're not even low-cut V-necks.
Doesn't matter. Gotta get rid of them.
I'll take it under consideration. There will be no. I won't guarantee no enrichment of V-necks.
Can we have our own memorandum of understanding regarding your V-necks?
What about?
I will allow you to enrich
civil?
all the uranium you want if you just get rid of those V-necks.
Okay, up to and including weaponization of
whatever level you want. You have my full understanding. Okay. I'll sign all my understanding away to you that you can enrich whatever you want. All the nuclear dust in the world.
Bride, if she's okay with that.
Okay, I'm sure she'll be okay with that.
I don't know. I think she likes the V-necks.
I don't see how, but I don't know, maybe she's into it. Anyway,
that's probably the only thing that stopped this from going viral. Oh, and the fact that the entire truth community was yelling at me when I said this in June 2025. So anyway, how the Russians are responding. So you had the Russians earlier, or two days ago, I think, Dmitry Medvedev saying he was going to ship, Russia was going to send nuclear warheads to Iran to make up for the ones that they couldn't make anymore. And that rhetoric kind of cooled off in 24 hours. Trump responded to it. But then now we've got the Russians pivoting and saying, okay, well, they should still have the right, Iran should still have the right to enrich nuclear material and expand a civilian nuclear energy program. Trump right now is saying there's no need for that, etc. And, you can look back at these episodes and see if we ended up being right or clip it or whatever. But it feels to me like we're going to get a little bit of a settling period. And then as John referenced the Witkoff clip, the Witkoff quote, I think we're going to get Iran coming to the table, whether that's Abraham Accords or not. And I think a big part of the agreements that are going to be made will allow Iran to kickstart a civilian nuclear energy program. They might let this settle for some time before they do that, because, that's a pretty difficult narrative to completely undo, since they spent so much time talking about how nuclear energy was going to kill us all if Iranians had it. But that's where I think things are going. I think it's pretty difficult if the US, Russia, China, etc., are pushing for a renuclearization, acceleration into a new nuclear age, all while Iran and some of these other nations are just told, like, you can't do it, though. I mean, that was almost word for word what Trump just said there. We're going to allow them. That was June.
Is it a decode? Like, can we decode that? Is that a delta or whatever?
It could be.
Because we're told deltas now can be just any day. It doesn't matter. As long as you say the same thing.
June 26th, I posted that video, but I don't know when I made that. I don't know what episode that was from.
We're allowed to say decodes are within the same, 3-4 day period, but can we expand it like that?
I think we can.
9 days. We can. Okay.
Gravitationally.
Okay.
Yeah, but the whole thing there is just to say, and this isn't because I thought I was decoding. This is the point, actually. This is a good point about the decoding stuff. Like, I'm not going to rant about decoding. I'm going to take a pause.
Stop yelling at us. Just stop yelling. I don't care what you do.
I'm yelling happily now.
Okay.
I'm
smile
Irish.
while you're doing
This is
it.
just what we do. We're angry when we're happy. We're happy when we're angry. What I mean is that decodes aren't necessary at this point in time. I wasn't trying to decode Trump. All I was trying to do in June 2025 was say, is what Trump is saying publicly compatible with the end state that Donald Trump has stated he wants. So specifically regarding Iran, what has Donald Trump always said he wants? He wants peace with Iran. Well, are you ever going to have peace with Iran if you deprive them of a nuclear energy program? No, no, no. They've said that for 40 years. It was impossible to ever think anything else was possible here, unless you were just listening to Trump and taking him at face value. But instead, what we were saying in June 2025 was the narrative danger of Iran's nuclear energy program needs to be disarmed because the people are retarded. And more than the people, these other countries, Israel, NATO, the NATO alliance, they have been relying on the perpetuation of the nuclear narrative in order to justify all of their adventurism in Iran, which is why all of this has been necessary. At least in Trump's estimation. And he says there, it's psychologically important. It's psychologically valuable to stop Iran's nuclear weaponry program. And by the way, the other reason that I knew there was going to be a civil nuclear energy program in Iran that we were going to endorse, and oh, by the way, guys, I'll just give you a little spoiler. We're going to invest in that. American nuclear companies are definitely going to be involved in Iran's civil nuclear energy program. Hey, who's starting a fusion company that's going to be the first fusion commercial company in the world? Is that Donald Trump? That Devin Nunez was behind. So
that was fission, and it's already started. They just
it's
merged with it. Isn't it fission?
It's fusion. They want to be the first fusion company that's commercial.
Okay, yeah.
Fission's what they have right now. And the last point on that was that in 2025, what I was also tracking, 2024 and 2025, is that I believe in the sovereign alliance. That's like my foundational. If it conflicts or contradicts the sovereign alliance, I think it's probably bullshit. And that's been a pretty damn good indicator. One of the reasons I knew it was bullshit that Trump was going to stop Iran from nuclear enrichment was that Russia and China were already directly investing in Iran's civil nuclear energy program in 2024 and 2025. Yep. If the sovereign alliance is real, it is not possible that Donald Trump would stop them from doing that. And again, I know a lot of our audience knows this, but this is why I don't find the decodes and everything to be always wrong or they've never meant anything 10 years ago. It's just that if you're looking at dates matching and stuff now, you haven't even thought about any of this. Okay, Iran's in the news June, and then Iran's in the news in June. Okay, what did you learn? Did you learn about civil nuclear energy programs? Did you learn what Trump's endgame is? Did you try to figure out what all these players are doing? That's what I took out of the drops personally. And anyway, I thought that this is a big one for me because I've been very focused on the nuclear energy stuff. And I think it's a really encouraging signal in terms of that the golden age really is coming. And I think this energy push has a ton to do with it. And I think it's a hugely positive signal that even Iran and our so-called enemies are being brought to the table on this stuff by Trump and the Sovereign Alliance.
Yeah, and we've talked about these stories before. This is Iran and Russia signing $25 billion deal to build 4 nuclear plants in Iran. So there's multiple stories like this. They're still going to get to keep the nuclear. Actually, this is the next point of the agreement. Pending the final deal, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agree to maintain the status quo. The Islamic Republic of Iran will maintain the current status quo of its nuclear program, and the United States of America will not impose any new sanctions and will not deploy additional forces in the region. What I'm really curious to see is if we actually do go and dig up the nuclear dust or whatever, because from what Trump said originally to what Trump said yesterday, there's going to be an endpoint, and that endpoint to me is logical. We're just going to keep an eye on it. The mountain caved in on it. We're just going to leave the nuclear dust there. They're not going to touch it. And they're just going to continue doing whatever their nuclear program currently is, which is only for civilian energy infrastructure. That's what I anticipate to happen, but I guess we'll see. I don't know. I just don't see us spending billions of dollars to go dig up $500,000 of nuclear dust.
Yeah.
It doesn't make economic sense. The United States of America undertakes that immediately upon the signing of this MOU and until the termination of sanctions, U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives and all associated services, including banking transactions, insurances, transportation, etc. We're just going to let them like sell everything as if they're part of the world economy. We're welcoming them in with open arms. Number 11, the United States of America undertakes to make fully available for use the frozen or restricted funds and assets of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Upon the implementation of this MOU, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran will mutually agree on the procedures related to the release of these funds during negotiations. Such funds, whether retained in the original account or transferred, shall be made fully usable for payment to any ultimate beneficiary designated by the Central Bank of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America undertakes to issue all necessary licenses and authorizations accordingly. This is that $24 billion that's talked about.
And you know what, that's a quote unquote smaller one compared to what we've been talking about, but that's facilitation, right? That's not just the US stepping out of the way. That's the US facilitating this reconstruction, which, by the way, another mirror to this is Venezuela. So Venezuela and the U.S. State Department, as I pointed out on this show a couple months ago, is literally using the term reconciliation, political reconciliation, and essentially reconstruction in Venezuela. The Trump administration is directly facilitating the rejuvenation and optimization, I guess is the word I would use, of Venezuela's oil economy, which came on the heels of him, as we've pointed out, I think on both Power Hours, kind of ritually humiliating, I think it was ExxonMobil, I don't know which company it was that he had at the White House. It was all of them, but he humiliated one of them and talked about all the money they've lost. But the U.S. State Department are the ones that are now facilitating that. And the energy companies, the American energy companies, now have to go through the American State Department to deal with Venezuela.
Yeah.
So say probably the same thing with Iran. They're probably all going to have to go through the State Department, which means no funny business.
Yep. Number 12, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agree that an executive mechanism will be established to monitor the successful implementation of this MOU and the future compliance of the final deal. So they're going to have like a monitoring group or something, board committee, whatever, to make sure that everybody's keeping up with the terms of the agreement. After signing, probably after signing this,
he's the head of every committee.
Or I bet Witkoff will be on it. I bet Bessent.
Kushner.
I mean, there'll be a bunch of key players. After signing this MOU, probably Kristi Noem, obviously. She's, what is she again? The shield of the Americas? Like, probably make her the shield of the Middle Easters, too.
Yeah. Rubio, he'll be running point on that one. They're going to send him over there.
After signing this MOU and subject to the beginning of the implementation of paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11, those are the economic ones, of this MOU, and the continuing implementation of these measures, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran will start negotiations regarding the final deal exclusively on the other paragraphs. So the key parts here, before they even can continue to negotiate, like the nuclear stuff and all the others, is the economic, the sanctioning, the release of the funds, all that stuff. Once that's out, they're going to finish negotiating the rest of the deal. Remember, this is just the pre-deal, not the final deal. And then number 14, the final deal will be endorsed by a binding UN Security Council resolution. And we did have a good rant earlier from Keith O'Higgins, which surprising to say that thing in like the same sentence. Right. But it's true. The last and 14th requirement for peace in this deal, this is for $1, by the way, is a UN Security Council approval. Since China and Russia are the real power on the council with the US, peace will rely on a sovereign alliance.
Damn straight.
Interesting point.
By the way, to that point as well with Keith, I think tangential to all of this, we talked about the timing of Trump announcing this, pre-announcing the pre-deal on June 14th and the signal there, right? Well, look at when it is preemptively signed. Where's Trump? He's over in the heart of the NATO alliance, the heart of globalism. And he is signing, everything we're talking about tonight is about the disentanglement of all these proxy states from the Western global hegemon. And where is Trump right now? In the heart of the beast. And that is where he's fielding questions. So that when he's with Emmanuel Macron and people like, I see the headlines and stuff talking about, yeah, it's Trump and together with Emmanuel Macron, they're talking about this deal with Iran. Emmanuel Macron is being ritually humiliated there. The last thing in the world, and it's not him, right? It's what he represents. the last thing in the world what any of these European countries wanted was this deal and a renormalization or normalization for the first time with Iran. So I think Trump absolutely picked his spot. Trump and Iran picked their spot here. Like, why don't we do the press conferences on bringing Iran into the multipolar world order in the heart of the globalist world order that we're all dismantling together?
Yeah. And, we're getting a lot of interesting rhetoric about this. Everybody's like trashing Trump for this deal. All the worst people. A lot of headlines out there. Strategic analyst warns the U.S.-Iran deal could be the worst ever. We have Booker, Trump's horrific deal is an unconditional surrender to Iran. Warner, Iran MOU puts us in a weaker spot. Glad we're doing it. I'll explain why in a second. RT, Iran declares victory over Iran. Diplomacy is not enough. Iran's deal must weaken, not strengthen Hezbollah in Lebanon. And then this from David Schuster on Twitter, the former mainstream media guy, still kind of mainstream media guy. No, grain of salt, but not surprising whatsoever. GOP operatives say the Trump-Iran deal is so abhorrent that some GOP senators are talking of the Trump impeachment coming after Dems take Congress in the midterms. And the expectation, some GOP senators will support Trump's conviction/removal. The GOP Senate anger at Donald J. Trump is intense. Now, on this point, not surprised. They're probably going to steal the midterms. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Uniparty making like a good effort to try to get Trump out of there again. Will they be successful? I doubt it. They haven't been successful twice. No reason to think they'll do it again. But I would love to see who these names are, like which people are even threatening this, because this rhetoric is only going to get more intense as the midterms get closer. Maybe we'll get some, big changes when that election report comes out, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I love this stuff. Like, everybody is just totally exposing themselves for being anti-Trump. Even the people that were cheerleading for peace because it wasn't the way they wanted or whatever, they're using this as the opportunity because they think this is a weak spot for Trump. And I think by the time this is all said and done, they're going to look like real idiots, which they kind of already do. And you have a headline there, I see.
Yeah, similar to what you're talking about. I saw this today, but these headlines were everywhere across the mediascape. MAGA hawk mutiny deepens, Trump's isolation on Iran. So they had this stuff ready to go, right? Because of Trump's pre-announcement of the pre-announcement. I saw this one from The Atlantic. Trump celebrates while America capitulates. Trump does not understand the war he lost. So besides the fact this is all propaganda, the GOP one you're talking about there, I can't fucking wait until the GOP abjectly betrays Donald Trump. And we will come on here and I will not be nice about it. And many of you will take victory laps as well. Because if you disagreed with us about that stuff, you're probably not watching us anymore. The people that have been shaming us about the midterms and how important it is to make sure the GOP gets in there, I want them to talk about how important it was for the GOP to win when the GOP tries, to your point, to facilitate a coup against Donald Trump, because that is exactly what they're going to do. And that's what the media apparatus that they work for, that works for them, is telling you they're trying to do. And in terms of the headlines themselves, Trump doesn't understand the war he lost and everything. This is something that you see in the even earnest, retarded kind of alternative media, people thinking Trump doesn't know what he's doing. As you said earlier in the show, the Trump is controlled by Israel crowd doesn't understand why he would sign something like this. And it's funny, none of these people question their initial premise. And we've talked about this with Ghost in one of his premises. Is Trump waging a war with Israel against Iran? Or is Trump waging a war with Iran against Israel? Well, if you flip that premise, does this deal look a little bit different? Does this deal look less like Iran submitting to a deal and more like Iran coming to the table and signing a mutually beneficial deal? Does Iran seem to be in a worse position after this deal or a better position after this war, I mean? Does Israel seem to be in a worse position or a better position? If you just invert that premise, like we did from the very start of this, as you said earlier in the show, then all of a sudden it all makes sense. And, again, the media propagandists are paid to lie. Of course they do the total inversion, as Chris would say. What has been disappointing throughout all of this Iran stuff to me is that many within Trump's base were saying the same stuff and are saying the same stuff. Like, you can't trust those Iranians. You got to be careful. Does Trump know what he's doing here? And I think, this audience is one of the few that remain that's saying, like, no, I actually think Trump knows what he's doing. And maybe I'll revisit my underlying premises and act accordingly.
Yeah. Great points, man. Let's get a quick word in from our final sponsor of tonight's show. We'll get to whatever rants are there to this point and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about for a little bit. And then we'll get to the second half. Is there any final things you want to say on the Iran situation? Because I think we should move on to some other things after this.
No, I think it's good stuff.
Yeah.
And I look forward to being best friends with Iran.
Me too. Well, eventually we'll do a guard
being
there.
Filthy desert savages, but other than that, they seem like okay guys.
Okay. We got Rumble Wallet up. Let me get this going here. Come on. All right. Quick question. How much control do you have over your money right now? Technology has changed everything, and now it's changing how money works. Crypto started as a niche, but now it's going mainstream. Faster payments, more control, fewer middlemen. It's not just hype. It's where things are going. And getting started today is easier than you think. With Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, hold dollar-backed stablecoins, even own digital gold backed by real gold, all in one place. It's a non-custodial crypto wallet, which means you, not a bank or a platform, control access to your funds. Setup is simple. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your debit card, credit card, or bank account. You can be up and running in just minutes. And for a limited time, you can start your wallet with $10 in US stablecoin by downloading the Rumble Wallet and entering the exclusive promo code here at DPH10. When you sign up now, you get free $10, guys, by signing up right now with promo code DPH10. Times are tough. Gas prices not all the way down to where they were pre-war levels. $10 is $10. DPH10, wallet.rumble.com/DPH. Do it now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description of the video. And then once you get that, you can even rant it over to us using your Rumble wallet. It's crazy how it works. Again, rumble.com/promo official rules for details. If you want any more details, that is. And thank you to Rumble and Rumble Wallet for that. Free $10, guys.
Chris, speaking of Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky was out there tonight, truthing up a storm about Rumble. What did they change into? They rebranded as Rumble Group Inc. But they were talking about they're doing big AI contracts.
Oh yeah, they're doing quite a few of
$270
that.
million AI compute contract, data centers. So people got to start protesting against Rumble, I guess. Get out there. Rumble has joined the machines.
They also, they've been on fire lately, buying stuff. Quake AI, but where's Rum Group? I don't see that.
It was on his True Social feed, Rum Group Inc.
Oh, Quake AI, gotcha. Okay. Anyway, I just saw a story. I don't know if it's true, but apparently, where did I put that tab? I have like 500 tabs open right now on my. I saw that Ryan Fournier was arrested for using a fake. I can't be real. Where the hell did I put it? Oh, damn it. No, I can't find it. Apparently, Ryan Fournier was arrested. He used a fake Secret Service badge or something. It's like, I don't know if he's like using it to pick up chicks. Oh, here we go.
I don't even know who that is.
He's like a grifter on social media.
Okay.
Both of them were under arrest, but for different reasons. Fournier had allegedly broken a court order by texting his girlfriend, having been arrested May 26, for allegedly pummeling the woman in a drunken rage.
Oh my goodness.
Threatening to cave her head in with a lamp. Daley's alleged crime was less brutal, but a lot weirder. For the officers on the scene, more personal. Days before, a tipster had warned them that Daley had, with Fournier's help, been using a fake Secret Service badge to pose as an agent. Wow.
I think the caving head in with a lamp threat is pretty. That's the lead.
Yeah,
was that already known?
I don't know. That's pretty wild. Anyway,
what lamp is that?
That was more of an
One
aside.
those little tin ones.
It was more of an aside. I want to get to the post that Trump put out this morning, having to do with like the the DNI situation. This today at like 2 p.m. Eastern, Jay Clayton. No, let me even rewind a little bit more. Tulsi Gabbard comes out. Her husband has cancer. She's going to resign as of June 30th. That's her end date. Hit all the D codes. Everybody's super happy, excited. Yeah. Trump comes out and says, I'm going to be nominating Bill Pulte to take over as acting DNI. And everyone's like, oh, great, cool. You know, this is going to be great. And then all the worst people started freaking out about the nomination, which kind of means like he's probably good for the job for a short period. Trump comes out and says he wants him to fire a bunch of people, even work towards dismantling the entire agency, which is great stuff. And then he comes out and says that, yeah, we're going to do it. The June 19th is going to be the date. That's this Friday. That's like 2 days from now. Just obliterates all the decodes, but whatever. We that aside. And then he's like, okay, well, everybody's freaking out. They said they're not going to pass the FISA 702 search authority, which it's right now. We don't have that. If you you probably don't feel very safe at this moment, and you're not sure why, it's because the FISA 702 has not been reauthorized. Luckily, we did have a foiled terror plot on Sunday at the UFC thing, which not only was justification for us getting a drone port in the ballroom at the White House, which, yes, the White House, the DOJ did submit a briefing to the Supreme Court saying just that it was another reason to get the ballroom done. But also the fact that they foiled this terror plot is more justification for reauthorizing FISA 702. Well, Trump, seen everybody freaking out about the 702, said, I'm going to nominate this other guy, Jay Clayton, to come in and take over as the real DNI. Congress was like, yes, we love that. We'll get him rushed through. They were going through the nomination process on record speed. Like within a week, they were going to get this guy nominated and on the floor, like in the job by this Friday. He's supposed to have his confirmation hearing today at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then Trump comes out and posts this. I probably should have found the post.
This felt like a year ago.
What was that?
So much is happening in the news. I forgot that we were talking about this post today.
Yeah, this was this morning.
Yeah. I was like, wasn't that 2 weeks ago?
If I can find it. Or no, this was 2:54 a.m. my time.
It's before I go to bed.
Badlands time. The Republicans agreed with the Democrats to remove very fair and very talented William Pulte as the acting DNI in return for getting FISA approved by the Democrats. However, the Republicans moved so fast with the hearings of the great Jay Clayton, current U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, that Pulte would be gone before the Democrats would vote on FISA. Now, the Democrats are saying they will vote against FISA. So the Republicans wound up having fulfilled their commitment, but Democrats broke the deal. In addition, the newly nominated U.S. Attorney Jamie McDonald must be confirmed and blue-slipped. Because of the ridiculous views of Republicans on blue-slipping, Democrats are often willing to nix it. I may not be able to get the extraordinary Sullivan and Cromwell partner, Jamie, approved. And I don't want to take Jay Clayton away from the great job he is doing until Jamie is in place. Therefore, to add a slight bit of intrigue, he's doing this just for the intrigue, guys.
Just for the intrigue.
But for the good of the nation and the people of our country, I will not approve FISA without the Save America Act going along with it. Not complicated, actually. The Republicans fell into a trap regarding the approval of our great patriot, Jay Clayton. We are canceling the Senate hearing regarding the DNI today and will not be going forward until Jamie McDonald is approved to be U.S. attorney. In the meantime, Bill Pulte will remain as the acting director of national intelligence. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Welcome, President Donald J. Trump. Now, what we've been kind of saying about the Save America Act is like, and Chris primarily, he doesn't actually want this thing passed, right? Why else would he attach the, and think about this. He posted this morning at 2:54 a.m. And then he comes back again like 2 hours ago, an hour ago, posts the Save America Act, includes the no men and women sports and the no transgender mutilization surgery on our children for everyone in there, which this is him trying to tank it because those two things are not actually even in the bill. And yet it forces them not, like some people cannot vote for this thing. He doesn't actually want to pass. And now he's attaching FISA to that as well, which if you have the reading of he doesn't actually want the Save America Act passed by attaching FISA to it, he doesn't want that passed either, which fits in with what he said about the FISA Act for years prior to just like this second time coming back when he's like approved it and now he wants it approved again, allegedly. This fits much more in line with what he said previously. Also, actually, no, you go ahead. I've talked for a lot.
Well, just for that's a direct mirror to what we were just talking about, or fits perfectly with what I said about premises, right? If you invert the premise of Trump, Iran, Israel, suddenly everything he's doing isn't discombobulating at all. It makes perfect sense. To your point here, if you invert the premise, and as Chris has been saying, if your premise is not that Trump wants these things passed and doesn't want the FISA reauthorization, because that is more consistent with a long time reading of Trump's philosophies and statements, then this isn't discombobulating at all. It makes perfect sense. And to pass it back to you, my favorite thing that I know you probably keyed in on that I love in this is that this is one of those statements that demonstrates how Trump is able to communicate in that bicameral manner that we've been talking about for years, where two different audiences specifically can read that line about Republicans falling into a trap and come away from that with opposite readings. The normie crowd can look at that and say, Trump is criticizing the GOP for falling into the Democrat trap regarding Clayton. But I think our reading on this would more be like, Donald Trump is rugging the GOP once again, that thought they were sneaking one by him, and they fell into his trap, which is why he's doing this. So it's just that, you can take them both sides, and that as well depends on your premise. Is Donald Trump the champion of the GOP, or is Donald Trump trying to punk the GOP just like he's trying to punk the other side of the uniparty?
Yeah. For those in the chat wondering, like, why wouldn't he want the Save America Act? Not to speak for Trump, because I don't honestly know. I'm just guessing here. But I think it makes logical sense. Like, if we get something like the Save America Act, does it fix all the problems with our election system? No, it does not. And so if that's the case, and what we forgot to do the rants, so remind me to go back to the rants after this. If that's the case, it doesn't fix all the election system. This is a temporary band-aid that doesn't actually fix the problems, yet everybody's going to treat it as if it does, and then they can move on stealing elections for who knows how long until we finally realize, oh yeah, maybe it didn't fix everything. Maybe we need more than this. Also, Trump has said that if he wanted voter ID for the midterms or for our elections, he can do it, and he doesn't need Congress's help to do so. He said that himself. So this whole thing is just it's a play, it's a psyop. I want to talk about the DNI position in and of itself here in a second, but we promised we'd do the rants so far, so I think we should do that real quick. Let me scroll up to get a couple of these. The final demand, you mentioned the Juneteenth, and this is for $10, so thank you very much. You mentioned the Juneteenth comment, then talk about Deadwood in June, and all I will forever see is June, Jewne. Many thanks to the Badlander who made that comment. Thank you very much for that. Keith O'Higgins had another rant. I just think it would be incredibly ironic and entertaining if Trump finally gets the Nobel Peace Prize for ending the war he started.
Yep. Again, there's a lot of actuals going on, I think, but a lot of this is having fun with some humiliation rituals as well.
Hell yeah. Kinesi fam tipped a little bit with Rumble Wallet. Thank you so much. And then Team Bomb for $5 says, I'm voting for the Sovereign Alliance, but I find it interesting how leakable the Trump deal is. That makes me consider a narrative. Something I said on my show earlier is, like, because I got both versions of the deal. I got the first version, the leaked version, and then I got the second version, which was we're told the official version. And I was comparing them, and there was like different wordings. The one deal said financing, the other deal didn't. I was like, it's very likely that Trump, they leak different versions, different wordings and phrasings to all different parties, and whichever one shows up online is the leaked version. They can pinpoint exactly who had it. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of what happened there, but
I think that's it's probably both. I think it's that for sure. You can find out where the leaks are, but I think even more so than that, it baits out what we've been talking about. And I think what's really been going on in 2025, but especially 2026, is this baiting, this boiling. I think Ghost and I talked about this last time he was on my show. The boiling of the frog is directed at a different part of the collective mind right now. I think the boiling of the frog years ago, maybe during the first term, and definitely during the Biden term, was like on Normieville, was on leftists, was on Democrats. I think the boiling of the frog this time is on traditional conservatives, Zionists, evangelicals. There's a lot of people who have, Chris and I talked about this in the narrative last week. They voted for Donald Trump by accident. Not everybody did, but a lot of them voted for Donald Trump because he was a Republican. And have those people actually done any sort of introspection into the previous worldview, the same worldview that had them vote for two Bushes, a Romney, a McCain, and on down the line? Like, have they actually learned a whole lot there? Well, some of them have, and they are the ones, I think, that are responding positively to Trump's boiling of the frog. And the ones that are freaking out about everything he's doing, I think, are the ones who are exposing themselves, perhaps even to themselves, as just being neocons that never actually were MAGA in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for those rants, guys. We'll do rants again at the end if there are any. I want to go back to the DNI thing here. So as we've been talking about Tulsi, right? Everybody's been keying in on Tulsi, putting a lot of stock into her reports that are coming out. The first one we got, and again, these reports are supposed to be coming before she leaves. That's like what she said. I'll have these reports up before she leaves. There's a lot of reporting on that. The first one she came out with was the biolab one. They spent months looking for documents, and all they found was 4 pages of a slideshow semi-confirming something. You can't even call it confirming. It was already confirmed. We already knew all the stuff in there. But now it's just coming from an official source. So that's good. Great, whatever. We're still expecting the Havana Syndrome report, potentially a weaponization of government report, but I'm not 100% sure about that one. But the big one I think most people are keying in on is the election report. Again, all these supposed to come before she leaves because she's the one doing the thing, right? That's what we've been told. That's what all the decode said. Bill Pulte's coming in on June 19th. She was originally supposed to come on June 30th. So we were kind of expecting those reports to come this week. And I've been talking to this guy. Eventually, I'm going to have him on my show. I'm not ready to say his name yet, but once he's like comfortable enough and I confirmed I actually get him on my show, then obviously you guys will know who I'm talking about. But he's been giving me some different insight. He's better connected to me. I wouldn't say it's an inside source. I'm not going to call him that because none of the stuff he's like said has been verified, but he's cool with me talking about it, which is fine. He said that it's the President's Intelligence Advisory Board that's actually handling the declass. It's more of a White House thing and them than it is Tulsi, which I thought was interesting.
She's
especially because Devin Nunez is on there and Robert O'Brien. But then the second thing is like he originally reached out and was like, yeah, this is the week. And that was like this week. This is the week of the election stuff. And he was going to like talk to somebody and view the documents or whatever. Or at least get like, I don't know if he's going to view the actual documents, but he was like going to get an update on what's going on. And apparently it's been pushed back a week. And there's going to be a press conference for it. He doesn't want to put like a firm date on it, but he's thinking like around the June 24th timeframe is when we're going to get it. And that coincides with big, yes, right before GART, which is going to make GART awesome. But it's also the same day as Trump's big rally that he's
Wednesday rally.
The Wednesday rally. And you know what? I think I have that picture. I can share this. Hold on. But all this information I think is just if it checks out, it's interesting to me. Like it's less importance on Tulsi than people originally thought. I'm still not like convinced that this won't be like some sort of limited hangout, which I think we should all be concerned about most of this stuff. Let me find this picture here. I got the picture. I just got to pull it up in here. Here we go. So this is Trump's rally that he posted. This was on June 4th. He posted it. He said on Wednesday, June 24th at 7 p.m. in magnificent Washington, D.C., now totally beautified and one of the safest cities anywhere in the world, and in celebration of our country's 250-year anniversary or history, we will be bringing you live the greatest rally ever. It will be a special at every level, a rally to end all rallies. We don't want singers with no talent but big fees to put you to sleep. We've told them all to stay home. All we want is you, me, a few speakers, and the greatest music ever played, the same music you have listened to for years. We will have the fabulous Lee Greenwood introducing me with what has turned out to be one of the greatest hits of all time, God Bless the USA, and the amazing Christopher Macchio, who will sing Nessun Dorma, Hallelujah, Ave Maria, God Bless America, and others. Not since the legendary Luciano Pavarotti has there been such a voice. The rally will also be featuring the wonderful U.S. Army Band, Pershing Zone, and the Armed Forces Choir, the President's own United States Marine Band, with the Joint Armed Forces Chorus, all of your favorite hits, plus a fine and highly dignified gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump. So I just thought the dates of that coinciding was fairly notable. If it checks out, may not. Don't put any stock into it. Don't go to Polymarket with any of that information. I don't know. But again,
you need 2 unnamed sources close to the situation, and you only have 1.
And the only reason I'm not naming him, and you guys will recognize the name, not a huge name or anything, but it's because I want to make sure he comes on my show. And once that happens, I'm going to ask him all these questions directly to his face, and you can get it straight from the horse's mouth.
It's Donald Trump, isn't it?
It's not. No. Fuck no. I wish.
Even he is only 1 unnamed source close to the situation.
Yeah, it's my thoughts on the Tulsi thing. We've all been waiting. We're all standing a little bit on the election rug, if we're being honest about ourselves. Maybe everybody but Chris Paul. We're all looking at this election declass and being like, we've been waiting since 2020. Like, they got to at some point expose the election fraud. It's been such a huge thing. It's not going to make it any more true now than it was before, but there's got to be something to lead into, like the lead into Trump doing something about it, like making the election changes that we actually need. Maybe it even leads into suspending the midterms, which would be amazing. Chris has also been talking about that. I think he's the first one I've heard talking about it. And a lot of people were keen on this. What was that?
Can you imagine that victory lap? Like, if we got a suspension of the midterms and everybody pretends to have retroactively decoded that while relentlessly shaming the only guy who was the entire time. Yeah. The only 2 guys, basically you and him, who have been calling for it to be canceled or delayed. It would happen. I mean, that's what people would do, but it'd be great.
We're not that big. I told you so. We don't do that. Probably won't happen, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm curious. I'm excited to I need more documents. There's been it's definitely been light on documents.
MOUs documents. It's great when they make several documents out of what's supposed to be 1 document at the end of it.
I know,
They're showing us all the rough drafts, and it's good to see the writing process.
It's pretty awesome.
Narrative.
But for the most part, this year has been very light on documents. Yes. So excited.
To your earlier point on the MOU and the leaks of it, another way to look at it too. That's more of like just a I wouldn't say cynical, but sort of just an actual way to look at it would be beta testing. So this is something that a lot of people in the online, I'm still a nerd. I still try to follow some genre stuff, even though it's all fake and gay now. And in the Hollywood world, people are starting to get savvy to the idea that studios leak their own content. Mm-hmm. And blame, say that, that grainy quality Spider-Man trailer leaked 2 weeks ago, and then the final trailer comes out 2 weeks later in 4K, and it's a little bit different. What were they doing there? They're beta testing. They're releasing something in shitty quality. They're like, those dang leakers, and then they are gathering millions and millions of impressions and going, when we release this to the masses, what do we want the reaction to be? So it's like beta testing. You could come out with a draft. Now, I think these deals are already done. Don't take this to mean I think they're beta testing what the deal should be that they sign with Iran. But I absolutely think they beta test their communications. And if they beta test those communications while rug pulling media outlets or exposing them as leakers or people within the administration, then that's killing two birds with 1 stone.
What is everybody making such a big deal about the algae in the pool?
Well, I think that's another own Trump. That's an optics thing for Trump. I've seen that all over my normie feed. Like, Trump has made such a big deal out of the reflecting pool that now that it's green a week later, people are like, look at him. He said he was going to drain the swamp, but he made the swamp. And I want to know if we get the most hilarious false flag operation disclosure, which is that some deep state people planted algae in the pool. Could you imagine the scandal? Somebody just went around and was sprinkling algae dust.
We'll probably figure out who sprinkled the algae dust into the pool before we figure out who the pipe bomber was.
Maybe they sprinkled the nuclear dust into
Oh my gosh, can you
reflecting
imagine?
pools.
That's probably what they used to fix it, because apparently they're vacuuming it all out now.
Mhm.
I got distracted by this. Sheldon Whitehouse. When both the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal call out Trump's Iran deal as a U.S. defeat, that's telling.
That
Pretty
is so
telling negative
funny, man.
indicators. But
That's like a deep cut way back in normie time of, I forget that those are considered to be diametrically opposed outlets, right? Because we just consider them like, what do you mean? Two of the papers of record, the mainstream media. But in Normieville, the Wall Street Journal is the moderate conservative paper of record, and the New York Times is the other one.
no,
That's
anyway.
pretty funny.
You should help find an outro video.
Oh man,
Unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
so sudden.
I
think that was most of it. I think we hit most of the stuff I wanted to.
We've been going for a while. Let me one more time plug Gart, and then I'll check the boost real quick. Gart again, guys. Reminder: June 25th through 28th. Get those virtual tickets. Badlandsmedia.tv/events. We're doing our next exclusive live stream tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be a good time. Those are always fun. Just an hour, hang out. You can only be there if you have a ticket. And who knows what we talk about. Sometimes people say that the exclusive live streams are better than even like the Guard panels or our regular live streams, because less people, more fighting. I almost feel like, I don't know. So there's just a good time. Get those tickets. Jemmy Gold became a Badlander, which is monthly support, which we truly appreciate. Badlandsmedia.tv/boosts. Just the most dedicated deep dive to clear the fog for those of us that have been ahead of this storm for the last 10 days and the biggest of the lies of 9/11 that were not airplanes but controlled demolition bombs. The joke's on all of us the previous 20. Thank you for the support. And then 1027JS gave $20, says, hi guys, have a great show tonight. Thank you, Joe. Joe, are you coming to Deadwood, my fellow North Dakotan? You're right there.
No.
Gotta make it down. I don't think I've met you in person yet. You gotta come down to Deadwood.
Are you coming on the narrative on Sunday?
Oh yeah, you did invite me, didn't you? Let me confirm that.
Okay.
Because we were supposed to go to Medora. I'll get back to you on this tomorrow. We were supposed to go to Medora last weekend.
Maduro?
We were going to go see Maduro last weekend, and then it got rained out. And so we were going to try to do it this weekend because we have the kids again. And now I don't know.
Okay. Well, Sunday night will either be John or two of me. I'll clone myself.
Dude, you could probably have Claude, the AI bot, make a second you to respond to yourself.
Just feed it all of my writing. It would be like, good point. That reminds me of this.
You literally could could probably do that. Like you could have a conversation with yourself. It'd take a little work, but
I'd get super heated.
just yelling at yourself back and forth.
We could make AI versions of G and at. Man, we should do this for a future Gart. It's too soon for this one, but like have Ash debate herself. But we can because you know how Ash has become cool with elections, but she used to be the worst.
Yeah.
She knows. She was in chat earlier. And we could train an AI on like 2023 and earlier Ash, and then have it debate elections with current Ash.
That would be funny.
And be like, this is what we were fucking dealing with, Ash. And we could do that with Alpha, who's regressed. We could have 2022 Alpha debate 2026 Alpha. And
I mean, there are lots of possibilities. We could just have a big Badlands debate. We could do all sorts of things. We'll have to play around with it.
Ash has gone anti-election, and Alpha has gone the other way, deeper into elections. That's like the Overton window of Badlands now.
Over on YouTube, they did rants. I don't know if that was all. We decided to do a thing where we do rants in the middle. And I just saw we had one more come in, so we'll do that here in a second. But CG Riley says, I think this is my favorite night in the chats, except for the fact Kathy's not here. It's much more intimate and no bots. It's always nice when there's no bots. But as usual, we got a pretty decent crowd over on YouTube. 214 people. Do us a favor, guys. If you're watching on Rumble, head on over to YouTube and hit the thumbs up. And if you're watching over on YouTube, head on over to Rumble and hit the thumbs up. Appreciate that. The Boom Diggity says, very interesting that the Treaty of Versailles and the MOU signed on in Versailles both had/have 14 points. That was a $50 rant. Thank you.
I like that. And I definitely think there's something to the symbolism there. And like I said earlier with Emmanuel Macron and, you know, my whole theory of the sovereign alliance is counterbalanced by what is the sovereign alliance against, right? That's like the whole Thiad that the Rise Attire folks put together with my quote in there. That's how I define the sovereign alliance. They're not necessarily all unified in a vision for exactly what they want, but they're definitely unified on what they're against. And I think it's notable that Trump, he makes these sort of paradigm shifting declarations and announcements a lot of the time in these symbolic places. And these symbolic places are a lot of the places in which the very treaties and agreements that have kind of binded us in a negative way into this globalist racket, this Prussian system, that's where a lot of these things were done. So it feels to me like he is undoing them there. Now you can just look at it as symbolism, or you can get deeper down the rabbit hole and think of Satanism and think of that stuff. You can even go metaphysical with it and talk about like the power of ideas and stories and narratives and how they perpetuate and how they're amplified. And, I like thinking about stuff like that. And I do think that there is a spiritual and a psychological layer to this war. And sometimes just moves like that, Trump going and undoing the Versailles Treaty in Versailles is notable.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm gonna have to read up on the Versailles Treaty. Did you find any AI videos for me?
No, I did not. Stumped me.
Funny videos. We could just do our self-disclosure ad again. Wonder.
You guys should watch. Speaking of cool videos, you should watch OnlyLands Friday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Are we doing that?
Yes.
So
yes, we are.
You guys are gonna like there is a new intro for OnlyLands on Friday night.
Don't spoil it, man.
I didn't spoil it. Somebody was in chat earlier who spoiled it, who made it.
He didn't say what it was though, did he? He just said you're not gonna want to miss it.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I mean, what else is it gonna be?
I don't know. It could be anything, and you just ruined it. You gave the game away. So yeah, just definitely want to be there at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
We'll say that.
Leave, but
yeah. Are you gonna be on? I have to do that list, don't I?
I don't think I will be on Friday. I have an appointment today. In my area, we had like 6 accidents in the town on 6 different roads. Jeez. And we were like, why are there people pretty much parked outside of our house? We live on like a side street, like a pass through. And it turned out that everybody in town couldn't go anywhere because it's summer and people are going to the beaches, and we need robo-taxis to save us all because people's driving ability is degenerating in real time. So yeah, there were 6 accidents on 6 different roads in my town. Basically shut the town down all day.
That's nuts. That sucks, but whatever. It's Boston.
They were pretty bad too, I think.
Anyway, I don't have a video either, man. I don't know what to do.
Wow.
Oh, we could play.
Could just watch the Spider-Man trailer because there actually was one. I wasn't using a hypothetical.
No, I don't want to do that. I got an outro video for you guys. It's gonna be very, very short though. Very short, like 5 seconds short. But this is gonna be your outro. So
we gotta scramble to get out of here on the back of it then.
Yeah, I'll do my best. Okay. You guys have a good rest of your evening. I will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Daily Herald. You guys have what's the movie?
Oh yeah, tomorrow night. I keep forgetting about Thursday night. Badlands Story Hour. We are finishing up the Godfather trilogy tomorrow night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Catch up on episodes 1 and 2. Those are some great ones according to the Story Hour audience. And I thought that there was a lot to discuss from Godfather 3. It gets a lot of criticism. It was my first time watching any of these movies. I thought it was pretty good. Definitely not as good as the first 2, but some interesting stuff. We had the Vegas helicopter shooting in that movie. So yeah, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Then you can see me Saturday if you are subscribed to the Badlands Substack, badlands.substack.com. The Badlands Blitz is an exclusive show that drops there, a 1-hour show Saturday morning. Then Sunday night, either with John or somebody much better.
Probably somebody much better, but yes, I will get back to you on that one ASAP. All right, we're going to scramble out of here. You guys have a good rest of your evening. Hit the thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.
You shot your load pretty much, Steve, right? Pretty much.